Uh, so then I went and I got a master's degree in museum studies off in Illinois. And I finished that and I was all like looking for jobs at museums, and I did some more park service and I did a couple of museums. And what I found that I liked the most while I was at the park service is doing the educational programs and going out to schools and talking to kids in school. And a friend of mine got her teaching degree, and she would tell me about uh, her classes. And then I was like, I like the education part the best. And so I just happened to be in Binghamton where another friend was, and they had a great master's in teaching program. And I just kind of stayed, did the master's in teaching program. And then actually, once I finished, there weren't any jobs, and I subbed for an entire year. That was fascinating. And then I got the ME job, and this is where I am. I would recommend, however, like, here's the thing, like Mr. Lorenz is saying, like, keep going. I would not trade that extra degree for anything. And as a matter of fact, I could not teach my college US history class. Broome would not allow me to do it with a master's in teaching. My master's in museum studies and that history is what certifies me to be able to teach my Broome class. So I couldn't do that if I didn't have that extra degree. So I'm grateful for all the crazy experiences before I got here.
Thank you all. Those were some interesting paths. So you all talked about your paths to your careers and, what education it took or extra education that you might have not needed, but you kind of needed to figure out what you wanted to do. So my next question is, what was your inspiration for the career that you ended up in? And you might have touched on this a little bit in your answer, but what is your continued inspiration? If you just want to talk about that for a couple minutes, however long.
So, I mean, I mentioned earlier, the inspiration was I had to choose a major by Friday. But my other inspiration at the time was the fact that I had, I first went to undergrad thinking that I was going to be a lawyer. And my advisor said, well, that there's more people in law school than there are practicing lawyers, and you're just going to be a number. And that didn't sound, appealing to me. So I was like, my dad got really mad about that. It's a really good thing there was no internet when I was in college, because I'm pretty sure that my advisor would have got some nasty emails about that. And I neglected to tell my dad, I think we had quarters, not semesters. So I think I neglected to tell him that I dropped that as a major for 2 quarters. And so I kind of just like flailed around for a while, and I'm glad I did, because what has inspired me now is just, I think, the fact that I chose this, you know what I'm saying? And it wasn't just a major that I was like, oh, I want to be a teacher. And then I, felt like I was stuck in it. Because I know a lot of times, at least we're finding, and I don't know, Julie and Mike and Megan, if you can speak to this, but we're finding kids who feel like at 18, they're magically supposed to know what they want to do for the rest of their lives. And then once they pick this thing out of the air, it's like cemented to their forehead. And that's the only like tunnel vision that they can have. And so I love the fact that I kind of flailed around for a little while and discovered, science and math, not my thing. So all of the things that were going around with science and math were not my thing. And so social studies, I've always loved social studies. So my inspiration at the time was the fact that I had some great social studies teachers. My dad taught 4th grade, and he'll tell you that that's the best grade. But again, like Megan was saying, I don't know if I could spend an entire day with 8-year-olds. But what continues to inspire me is I love being around the kids. And that really was driven home last spring when we had to shut down and the building lost its life. And I didn't get to see them every single day. I didn't get to interact with them every single day. I was losing out on seeing how they were doing. I mean, yes, we had Zoom. Yes, we had FaceTime. Yes, we had Snapchat video. Yes, we had, the phone. But it's different when you don't get to see the kids in person every day. And so all of the times that we've had either, had to go into quarantine, or the kids were not in the building, this place is just not the same. And I'm not the same person when the kids are not around. And so they really are my inspiration every single day, because I am really enjoying not only just getting to know the kids, but also just building that sense of community, both in my classroom and in our building. So that's really what keeps me going every single day, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
For me, also, it was definitely teachers who inspired me to be teachers. Going back to Abby's question, I too did some teaching before I finished my master's, and it was substitute teaching. But I subbed in high school where I graduated from. And so I think that my high school teachers, the ones who really had an impact on me, influenced me down the road through all my gyrations to be in the high school teaching field. And then many of my college professors reinforced that. And the one trade-off for me is that my collegiate experience has been helpful to me in teaching AP English and college fast forward because they are college credit bearing classes. So that has been a benefit as far as that goes. But definitely teachers, and I would concur with Rachel that then the students are the spark that makes you want to get up and go to work every day for sure.
Absolutely. So my junior year in high school, I took the ASVAB. Did you guys ever take that? The Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. It's one of the best tests in the world to determine your career skills, not just your interest. And it matches you up with what you like and what you're good at. So I came out as priest and parole officer. So thinking, okay, along those lines, and then spending a large amount of time my senior year in the counseling office because of the leadership stuff, I kind of put it all together. And I love the structure of a school and the routine and the traditions that a lot of schools have. So I kind of liken that to priest in a way. There's a lot of structure to a religion, and to what your week looks like and things like that. And then I liked how our school counselors dealt with each student as an individual. Some kids come in and they just need to download their thoughts and their feelings and need help sorting out. Well, that's kind of like a priest in confession, maybe. So it's kind of close. We do teach lessons. So it's kind of like, your homily in church, your preacher. And, some kids make poor choices and we have to work through those, kind of like a parole officer. So, we're close. It didn't tell me to be an architect or something. I'm close to what I'm doing. But I watched the two school counselors that I worked with the most through the leadership stuff. And I watched what they did with students. And every student was different. And some needed career help and some needed help in, interpersonal relationships. And some students just wanted to learn more about themselves or how they could make their mark in the world. Some students needed help with, finding a college and taking the SATs. And some kids have challenges learning and how can we make accommodations, and all that stuff seemed great to me. And I loved the structure of a school, and I loved the high school age group because you can kind of relate and rationalize and have conversations with high school students, which is not what I was finding in elementary. So I found that it was a really good fit. And what really inspired me was every student comes in as a freshman and they're 13 and 14 years old. And do you remember what you were like in 8th and 9th grade? And you're just awkward and weird and figuring things out and you don't know what you don't know. And then, you watch that student grow into a young adult. And that inspires me every single day, the change, whether it's looking at that 14-year-old kid and saying, I can't wait to see where this takes you. Or now I'm talking to my juniors and seniors about what they're doing in the future. And I can't wait to run into you now in 10 years and to see how this plays out. And even if you change a million times, that's okay, because we're figuring, we're going through life figuring things out. But it's fun to watch the growth and development and know that I had a ringside seat, and maybe something we worked together on made a difference. So that's what inspires me every day. So just watching growth.
I'm
Okay.
going to interrupt
Oh.
really quickly. Sorry. It appears that we've had like a slight technical malfunction. It looks like we made the like link for this Zoom meeting through a free account rather than a university account. So there's currently like a timer at the top of the screen
Yep.
saying that the meeting is going to end shortly. There doesn't seem to be anything we can do to extend that time. So when we inevitably get booted out of this meeting, if you could just rejoin through the same link that you used to join originally, that would be fantastic. And I'm very sorry for this error.
Yeah, sorry everyone.
That's the worst thing that happens all day. It's gonna be a great day.
Yeah, that's better than my technology issues today with kids on a test. I'll try to be fast in the 2 minutes that's on the timer. My inspiration, one of the things, because I was doing all kinds of other things, and one of the things that made me really realize that, hey, I should be teaching, is when I was daydreaming, if this was my class, this is what I would do, and this is how I'm going to do it. And I was like having daydreams about being a teacher. So that was my key thing of like, maybe you're in the wrong job if you're daydreaming. And when you're visiting the school, you're daydreaming that, you should be the teacher in the class and not the presenter. So that was a clue that I needed to have a different career. And as far as like day to day, absolutely what everybody said, the kids are the thing. At one point, I also, my many things, I thought about being a professor and not a high school teacher, because I really do love the history that much. But I want to interact. I want to interact with people. I want that spark. Like the best days are when the kids like get it and they crack a joke about what's going on, and that just that interaction and that flow and that energy is the amazing piece. And it also turns out that the theater background is really useful because there's an old teaching book that's called 180 shows a year or something like that, and that's part of what we do is the show, and the show does not have a point without that audience and the energy of the students. So all of that put together is daily inspiration.
Thank you all for sharing your inspirations. I'm not going to ask another question yet because we're about to all get booted. Does anyone have anything they want to say before that? It's okay if you don't.
If not, we'll leave the meeting now and join back in now.
Okay, let's do that.